Super Mind Stretchers. It's got a charm to it.
Welcome to the show. Just quickly, you might notice Ben's microphone at the start of this episode is just a little bit low. But luckily we've got, of all people, Sean Connery here to explain why that was the case.
What we do. Yes.
Now, Sean, can you just walk me through what happened?
Right. Well, you've got this young lad, Brendan. He's there. He says that he can hook up the microphones. And I'm not quite sure that he can. But I turned to him. I said, may he who illuminated this illuminate me.
Oh, thank you for the tea.
Most welcome.
I think I accidentally always start off talking on the podcast by saying thank you for the tea because I'm always so grateful for the tea.
Well, that's the thing in front of you when you sit down to the mic.
Yeah.
We were just saying it's a cozy cast.
Cozy cast.
Cups of tea. I enjoyed listening to that. I listened to you guys last week. Songs.
Oh, yeah.
Ben,
welcome back,
Songs
Ben.
myself.
Welcome back, Ben.
I missed you boys.
We missed you.
And it was delightful listening to the two of you chatting away. And then I went and watched the Papier mashup.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yep, you're on the Papier side.
And was thoroughly confused. Use of an orange.
Yeah.
It got me thinking though, why? Yeah. I couldn't think of a better alternative.
Right. Yeah. Something that will shrivel to help get
But
it
if
out.
you're going to cut it anyway,
Liberate it.
yeah, liberate it. We loved when he said liberate, and just like that's no good to anyone, and they actually
Right
genuinely
off the
throws
front.
it. Oh man, that was the best.
I suspect Rob wants to, there's a lot going on in Rob's head that he's holding himself back.
Yeah, that's what I love about
it
him.
on TV, and you know there's a lot that. I
Yeah.
wonder if there's outtakes. Do you reckon it'd be
Ooh.
that's
Oh,
what we should look for.
there
Yeah,
are
okay.
some good outtakes, and it's so wholesome. Yeah. I think I remember.
High school outtakes.
Yeah, I think a
High school
crab
ones,
or
they're
a,
just like all
a crab
sweary.
or a yabby gets Rob on the finger.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and it's great. He like yells in such a charming way.
I want to hear those words.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to hear the word choices.
Yeah, and it's not too bad either. It would be what I would have considered as, I won't spoil anything,
Yeah,
but it would
okay.
be what I would have considered a bit of a swear when I was a kid. But
Okay.
My main
You'd
thing
get away with that.
Papier mache, and I'm just saying it now like that.
Yeah.
Papier
That's the
mâché.
Fun way.
Yeah.
Was I was just terrified he was going to cut his thumb off.
I know.
Yeah.
It just had me so tense.
Yeah.
Watching it, and I knew there couldn't possibly be.
Yeah, the way he's holding it like a paring knife,
Yeah.
where you kind of like, but it's still tricky to watch.
He's got the look of experience about how
Mm.
he does it. Like, not reckless, but yeah, it's not the way I would do it. But then I thought, well, how else would I do it if that's the knife I had, I suppose?
Did you ever think it was really cool when someone in a movie like cut a segment of apple,
Yeah.
ate it off the knife?
Yeah.
I know that exact motion.
Yeah, so nonchalant.
That's like dangerous because it's like
Yeah.
a knife in your mouth that you just you're too cool. You're not gonna like pick it off with your fingers. You're gonna just
Yeah.
eat it off the knife or skewer it on the end of the knife.
Yeah, so
Like
menacing.
that. But you, like, mum would always be like, "Don't lick the knife," even the butter.
Yeah.
Like, if you
Yeah.
want to lick the last bit of jam. Don't lick that. You chop your tongue off. So I was always thinking,
You'll
that
butter
was
your
bad.
tongue.
Took me years to even try. Well, with a butter knife, just to be like, I think I'll be okay with just with this butter knife, and I
Yeah.
was fine. Don't at home. Don't try that.
No,
but, yeah.
Like I
Don't
still
try it on your friends.
switch off a toaster at the power point if I need to like reach my fingers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Or
yeah.
stick something into your mouth, but then I'll like
Good
hesitate,
practice.
and then I'll unplug it.
Yeah.
It's always I switch it up. No, actually, this is the order it happens. I just go to do it normally, and then realize and go, "What am I doing? Oh god!" Okay, switch it up to the power point. Okay, now that's surely safe, right? And my brain tells me, "Yeah," because it's switched off. And then I go gingerly to start doing it, and then my brain's like, "Just unplug it.
Yeah.
Unplug it fully from the wall.
Yeah.
Then there's no chance."
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I don't know. Is
First
this a
time,
two-pronger? Is it a three-pronger?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
switch that is completely switched off is going to run current through a toaster that is also not actually
Yeah.
depressed.
That'll
It's
be
like-
the time though.
It's like
Yeah,
when I was,
cool for me.
whenever I'm like, when I'm replacing like the belt on my linisher or something, or when I'm like changing something on my bench grinder or something like that, I'll always like unplug it from the wall, and just look at the cord for a second. And you make sure it traces back, make sure it's the right cord. And I'll show everybody. I'm like, this is the cord. This is just to convince myself this is safe.
That's a good safety sort of thing anyway, just sort of speaking out things. So someone else could catch you just in case. So what's a linisher? Did I hear that right?
I think that's the right term for it. It's like a belt. It's a linisher. It's a belt. It's a belt sander, but it's not like a handheld belt sander that you take to the work and stuff. It's used a lot in, I think, like sword makers use them. I'm pretty sure they've got like a linisher in the Weta workshop, the sword maker who made all the swords for the Lord of the Rings movies. Yeah, it's like mine is like a linisher attachment to a bench grinder. Mine's not very big, but it's like instead of having you'll see the bench grinders with two wheels either side. Often they're like a buffing wheel and a grinding wheel, or a grinding wheel and a wire wheel. I've got a grinding wheel, and then the other side it's got a pulley that drives a belt, and it's got a compressible arm that sticks out with another wheel on it. And you can put like, the whole loop is probably about, 600 or 900 mil of belt sanding, like a sanding belt, and you put it over, and you can replace whatever grits. And it's cool because it's it gives you a flat surface or a round surface, or like, and underneath you can it's got a bit of give, so it can be soft on things that you're trying to grind. I really wanted one ever since I saw Adam Savage has got a big one in his shop, and I'm looking around. It's pretty slim pickings for unless you in like Adelaide. I went to like Paramount Browns and stuff, but the only place I found a small one, which was actually probably good because I don't really need a big one, was at Total Tools, and Windsor Gardens.
Have you ever considered making a sword?
Exactly what I want.
I have. I'm thinking of making like a wooden master sword for Nora, because she's really into Zelda.
That would be wicked.
Yeah. That'd be fun. But it's interesting. That puts me in mind of a interesting mechanical principle.
Please.
What was it? It's it's like a convex pulley. There's a term for it. It's Steve Mould did a video on it, because you'd think that if you had a belt stretched around two pulleys, you would want those pulleys to have a concavity to them to guide that belt into place.
Sure.
But it's actually the opposite. You want one of the pulleys to have, depending on the elasticity of the belt, it's actually a crowned pulley. That's the name of it, the crowned pulley, because you want there to be a slight just against intuition, or my intuition at least, you want one of the pulleys, if it's being driven at high speeds, you want one of the pulleys to have a convexity, like to bulge out a little bit, and that will self-center.
Is this related to I feel like I've seen videos of either a treadmill or some sort of moving conveyor belt sort of thing where something's sitting on it, you could sort of push it and it would, depending on the concavity or convexity, it would sort of sit in the middle, like self-correct? Is that related?
Yeah.
Right.
And you'd think that, you don't want it at high speeds, you don't want it sliding off the pulley.
Yeah.
So, we'll make it like, but there's because of the property of the, depending on the elasticity of the belt being driven, if it's pulled at one end, it kind of curves out at that end.
Right.
So if it goes slightly off on something with concavity to it and rides up the side, then what actually happens is it bends the belt in such a way that it bulges out in that direction, and then it continues to ride up the side.
Right.
So whereas if you have a crown pulley, the opposite happens. And amazingly enough, it also, there's a great Steve Mould video on the crown pulleys.
Have you ever replaced the belt on a dryer?
No.
They're interesting because that's just friction. Like there's no the drum itself just has quite a thin belt that just wraps around it.
Yeah.
It just holds onto it. It's a smooth metal insert.
Yeah.
Drum, and this is just like a rubber belt that's going to hold onto it. And then on the actual motor, the actual drive, it's grooved, but you also then put it on the spring tension to kind of pull the whole thing tight as well.
Yeah.
And I've done it poorly so many times as well, where it's either not positioned right, and then you can start up the dryer and it will like slip off if you haven't quite positioned it, and there's nothing actually holding it into the position it needs to be in. You have to like set it in relatively the right position, and then set the thing going, and it will either correct itself or it'll just like
I'm always fascinated by like when you made me think of it when you said that it's just like on smooth metal, and when something is designed to accelerate like continuously up to a point rather than like the clutch on a car or anything. Whenever there's like a gradient of friction involved, it blew my mind as a kid to go, how's it so smooth? Like surely it's engaged or it's not. How do you slowly build up and then have an object that's spinning and then an object that's either not spinning or spinning at a different rate come together and then smoothly transition? And of course, like that is what causes the wear, because like unless you've got a 1-to-1 ratio of spin of two discs pressed against each other, there's always going to be wear. But of course it's going to be smooth because of the inertia of both objects. Like it's energetically favorable for something to smoothly transition rather than go ka-chunk into gear. If they're smooth and they're not going to catch, then of course the friction will energetically, at the risk of anthropomorphizing the objects, would energetically prefer to move smoothly. But it's
And motorcycle gears are like you just grind the gear chain basically,
right?
Because that's why you have to replace the oil and more frequently, because you are basically just forcing the discs together.
Yeah, right. I suppose that's fewer parts and stuff because you can't like an entire clutch system like a car's clutch system on a bike.
Yeah, like you do have a clutch, but all it's doing is just engaging the two discs together. Kind of rotating one hand. I'm doing a wax on, wax off hand, and then the other one starts waxing on, waxing off. And it picks up speed.
That's a good description. Yeah.
Okay.
And while we were chatting, the etymology of Linish.
Oh yeah,
do you want to guess?
Linish.
How's it spelled? Linish?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like a portmanteau.
Oh, okay. Linear, line.
Linen and
Oh.
finish.
Linen and finish.
So Linish, to improve the flatness of a surface by means of grinding or belt sanding.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Never guessed that.
No. That's cool.
Maybe a billion years, I would have.
Maybe a billion years.
It's a lot more years. Where you see those. Around all the times of like the Occupy Wall Street and billionaires kind of stuff.
Yep.
Graphics of like the visualizations, isn't it? Like how much bigger a billion is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's wild. Well, yeah, because I feel like it's easier to imagine the jump up from say 1,000 to 1,000,000. I guess
why is it easier to like visualize that?
I suppose 1,000 people is maybe an arena or a concert, or something you've been to. You've seen 1,000 people. I guess people would not really see 1,000,000 people, so maybe it's not a direct comparison like that. 1,000 times 1,000. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know why that would be easier.
Like I guess we could see 1,000,000 grains of sand, but we wouldn't be visualizing it as 1,000,000 like individual.
No,
just a big one.
And we wouldn't be able to guess quickly how many 1,000,000 grains of sand.
Right. Yeah, if someone showed me a stretch of beach and said, "Is there 1,000,000 grains of sand here or 1,000,000,000 grains of sand here?"
Yeah,
I would have no way of guessing that.
I love the ones that are all not even visualizations, but the descriptions of wealth as being like whether someone can afford a private jet or if they could have afforded one private jet every day since the dawn of humanity or something like that. Something crazy like that.
Oh, I suddenly sound...
You do.
Hey.
You
And
do.
Ben's back.
I didn't
We went to ease him
forget.
back.
I didn't forget everybody this time. I just forgot Ben for the first.
To
bit.
be fair, last week it was just the pair of you.
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
And, it's
that
just,
I think that was what happened because I put the thing in the wrong thing.
the podcast forgot me so quickly.
That is much
After
better
one
now.
week.
I should have noticed. I was just like, Tom sounds a little bit louder in my cans. I should have given you all headphones.
I'll do a little preamble.
Oh,
No, one of you do it. Tom, you do a little preamble for the beginning of the pod.
Okay.
That explains to listeners that my mic is off.
yes, that's
And
a good
that's
idea.
why there's like funny sound.
Hmm.
And do it in the voice of Christopher Walken.
I think Brendan should do Christopher. He's got a much better Christopher Walken than me. Go ahead.
Wow, Ben, your mic, it's off. I don't know what to do about it. Why you give me this job? It's crazy.
Now, Tom, you ask Christopher Walken
Yeah,
why this week's episode will start with Ben's mic sounding funny.
as Christopher Walken as
No,
well.
Now you're interviewing Christopher Walken.
Christopher.
Yo.
If you could just please elaborate on why Ben's microphone. was
Gladly, Thomas. I'd be honored. They got this guy, Brendan, to do the sound for the podcast. He's terrible, useless. I wouldn't be seen dead on a podcast with him.
Hey,
Oh.
Christopher Walken, that's our friend.
You're right.
Mate.
I flew off the handle. Sorry about it.
So then I'm going to cut that at the beginning of the podcast.
Nice.
Okay.
Out of context to
Beautiful.
explain the mic, and then I'm just going to leave all of this in as well. So
Yeah.
then people are going to hear it twice.
Great.
Now you know why that
Behind the
happened at the
curtain.
beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
Behind the curtain. Behind the cozy curtain. Speaking of last week that we only had the two of us, that you and me, Tom, we did touch on some things that I brought. I brought a thing to.
You got props.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is exciting.
I've got a prop.
Yes.
This is my new water bottle.
This is really cool.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. So
Arrived.
I was. So I think Ben, I don't know if I've spoken to you about this water bottle, but I might just pour myself a glass of water.
Hang on, can I film this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Just pour myself a glass of water here. Oh, that's lovely. A little bit of water.
Mm.
Actually, no, I think I might pour myself a Barocca instead.
Whoa, what Hang on.
Oh, a bit strong. I might go back to the water.
What?
2 week, I'll go Barocca again.
So
Whoa. Wow.
So all right. So I was filming that. I'll
Visual
put that
medium.
on Instagram. So that was switching from water to Barocca, and you were just pouring it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Out of the same nozzle, the same hole,
nozzle.
ostensibly.
Yeah.
Now I'll make a confession.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't listen to all of last week's podcast. So
Yeah,
I knew-
sure.
I knew
No,
that-
no.
I knew
Hey,
that you
it was
were. I knew what clips you were watching at least, so I could watch those. So did you explain this?
I did not explain this in particular.
Okay,
but-
so we're seeing a magic drink bottle here.
Mm.
So do you know how this works, Tom? Have you discussed this?
We haven't discussed it, but I do already know. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a magic trick. You've got what looks now. I can't. To be fair, I can't see inside the drink bottle. There is a
No,
very
that's
cool
true.
kind of cover, which also looks like it's got
The
some
cover is what is relevant to what we were talking about last week.
Okay. Yeah. The cover, if I had to describe it, looks like a chessboard pattern of like
Astute.
alternating. And actually, I can see a little symbol of a knight
Yeah.
down there, and then there are dots in the center of each square of the chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
And from the knight, now that I'm sort of looking more closely, it looks like the node graph of every possible path that knight
Yeah,
could take.
right on.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Because
And
we were talking about
Looks like it traverses every square on the board.
yes.
And how is it able to do that in this particular case?
Yeah, exactly
when
right.
Perhaps it might not be able to.
Oh, I see. Because
Otherwise.
it's turned into a cylinder.
Yeah,
You're
boom.
able to kind of continue
Oh, he
on
doesn't
the
even
horizon.
need to listen to the podcast.
That's great.
Oh,
Very
that's
well
cool.
articulated as well.
Yeah,
But this is blowing my mind about the double. So there's two different. Because what was nice was that you were very subtle about how you were doing the pour.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
guessing you're covering a hole with a finger.
That is right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
you made you. It was very subtle.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So the story behind this, Ben and listeners, please. I mean, I've already shouted out my boy Steve Mould once in this episode. He's my favorite science YouTuber, and I think still his most popular video. It's got like over 40 million views now. Is about a little trick item called the Assassin's Teapot.
Ah, yes.
And it's like a clay teapot. It's a sort of like magic trick that's been around for eons. But traditionally, it's a little clay teapot. And the idea that the mysterious story about it was, you could pour yourself a drink and your enemy a drink from the same teapot, and one would be poison and yours wouldn't, if you were that fiendish. But the trick is, yes, I will reveal. No spoilers. Go and watch his video. But it's got two chambers, and then there's a little. So he was a big fan. Steve Mould was a big fan of the teapot trick, and he got in touch with Michael Stevens from another great YouTube channel, Vsauce, and they together developed a water bottle version, and I pre-ordered it about a year ago. It got delayed because they really, really cared about making it a quality item, and it is a really good drink bottle as well.
Build
it looks
quality.
solid.
It's
And
built
you've just
really well.
unsheathed it
I've
from
done
its
unsheathed
chest,
it from its chessboard cooler.
Yeah, and to
from its
reveal
cozy. They call it a cozy.
To reveal-
It really is a cozy cast.
basically a bottle that is divided vertically with a partition in the middle, and you've got your what was it, Gatorade in the one side and
it's,
the water in the
Barocca,
other.
yeah.
Barocca, sorry, in the one side and your water in the other. And there's more to this thing because now I'm seeing there's a chemical element. What do you call those? The molecular structures on the side.
Yes, indeed, and different markings with secret things that he doesn't disclose in the video.
Okay.
You apparently you have to order your own and buy your own if you want to find out what the markings mean.
Oh, so we're not allowed to disclose these.
maybe off mic. Sorry, listeners.
Cool. That's exciting. That's exciting.
But
what about the molecules? Are we allowed to know about that?
Molecules. I think they are different sort of like
Okay.
different.
You're pointing at certain certain words.
It's got
on the side.
dimethyl mercury antifreeze. It says dimethyl mercury, 100 kilosteves, antifreeze, 1 steve, Brazilian wandering spider venom, 1 megasteve. So I think it's
are we going to get assassinated by Steve Mould for
maybe
revealing this on pod?
Well, maybe. Oh well, I think I can read it. I think I can read what it is, but he ran a little thing to see if you could guess what they mean.
Okay.
So you could probably guess what they mean, but I'm not allowed to confirm or deny.
Ooh, okay, all right.
And which one did you pour into my tea again?
I forget. Because I was practicing at the time.
Oh, no.
Can Tom and I discuss what we think they are, or you already know, Tom?
I don't know.
All right. So without you giving anything away, can we do that?
Sure.
All right.
So let's
have a look here. So we've got. So in descend. No, let's go from bottom up.
Okay.
So the very bottom. What's that one say?
We got francium 221, which is 1 terasteve. A low amount.
So they're in steves.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a real thing or not.
No.
1 terasteve. Francium 221. So that's like a really highly radioactive isotope. Is that what francium is? It's like a
it looks
very, very high on the periodic table. Although when I say high on the periodic table, that's
right. Not in
like the lightest one
not
at the top. It's
vertically
y-axis.
No.
High as in
Further
atomic
down,
number.
Yeah.
Well, the graphic on the other side that sort of links up with it does look like an element with electrons maybe in there.
Yeah. It looks like
the shells.
One of those classic diagrams of a nucleus with all the sort of concentric circles and the dots representing the electrons. All right. So that's francium 221 terasteve at the very bottom, and there's numbers here. 16. Is that like 16 milliliters? No. Maybe more than that.
Well, it's also interesting because it's no straight line.
It's about a centimeter off the bottom of the thing.
Yeah.
And this is about as wide as like a cup. The whole thing looks like what? 1 liter water bottle?
How big is it? I think it's about 750 mil, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe there's 300 in each side. Maybe that's
all right.
Maybe this is like per.
Next one up
silo.
is Brazilian wandering spider venom male, 1 megasteve, and that's at 100, and that's about a third of the way up the bottle, and that's got its own complex molecular structure on the other side.
Are we supposed to be guessing what is it this amount of this would do something? Do you think, Ben? Or
I reckon it feels like francium, like 1 terasteve. That seems like it's like radioactive. And how much to kill you?
Right. That sounds
Brazilian spider venom. Although that's a lot of spider venom, though. You probably don't need that much spider venom to kill you, would you?
That's a good
You've
question.
been to South America and you've been around those big spiders, haven't you?
Didn't come across a Brazilian wandering spider. Saw a pretty awesome big tarantula though.
Yeah, you had
Size
some
of
good
my
tarantula
hand.
stories.
Yeah, got very close.
I want you to tell your wasp story as well after this.
Yeah.
If you're up for it.
Sure.
Then the 2/3 of the way up is antifreeze, and that is 1 steve. So if steve is a unit, this is where we're at, just 1.
Steve.
To kill 1 steve.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
That's at 200. So it takes twice as much antifreeze as Brazilian wandering spider. And then the top one is dimethyl mercury, 100 kilosteves.
Okay. I feel like the amount of steves is not. That's not linear. So I feel like it's
a terasteve, a megasteve, a steve, and a kilosteve.
Right. So you could kill. What was this one? Kilosteves? Megasteve. So you can kill 1,000? No, 1,000,000 steves with that much. With whatever the millage is of that.
Yeah, and that's how much, because that's probably how much antifreeze you'd need to kill a person, I reckon.
That seems like a lot, actually, but
it
yes,
does.
That's
like a full glass of antifreeze, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you'd be having a bad day if you drank.
I used to be a drinker, but never got quite to a glass of antifreeze level. So
could use that at the moment. Winter in Adelaide.
That's true. And then dimethyl mercury. Oh, I see. So a whole bottle of dimethyl mercury would kill 100,000 steves. Right, that's our guess.
Yep,
that's your guess.
Check it out. Check it out in the. If you've got a guess, listeners.
The answer is given to you when you buy a bottle.
Hey,
when you buy this particular bottle. So.
There you go. Well, we don't.
I don't know if they're still available. I think maybe it was just a once-off pre-order sort of thing. I'm not sure.
But if you can guess, Brendan will send you his. Just right to.
Or you can come over to his place and he'll which side he's pouring your drink from.
But you, I bought like a pack with a bunch of different cozies on them, and this one I brought specifically to tell you about what we talked about last week. But there's a braids cozy that displays like Alexander's theorem that all knots can be represented as a closed braid, and that's not this one. And then there's an asteroids one, because asteroids like the
video game
around, like the video game asteroids. What's the other one? There was
what's a braid? What's a closed braid? What does that mean?
The Alexander's theorem states that all knots can be represented. This isn't off the top of my. I'm reading from the.
No, I'm going to cut that. Just pretend like it's off the top of your head. So, off the top. Sorry to put you on the spot, Brendan.
No, that's all right.
What's Alexander's theorem?
Let's see if I can remember. Alexander's theorem states that all knots can be represented as a closed braid. In other words, any knot, in the mathematical sense, of course, can be arranged into a ring of intertwined threads. With no thread reversing direction around the ring. What a beautiful thing to be embedded on a cylinder.
Well, now you're just reading the advertising copy. That last bit was probably a giveaway.
A bit too much.
So what's the difference between a mathematical knot and what used to happen to my old headphone in my pocket, my earphone?
I think there is a definition of mathematical knot. I think in maths, a knot is something that is maybe in a loop.
All right. So
for a maths knot to occur, it has to you can't remove it by passing, you can. I think in maths you can manipulate a theoretical string.
Yeah.
And if you can manipulate that theoretical string so that the end comes out and you undo the knot, then it's not a knot. I think that. Whereas if there's a knot in a loop, so that there's no way that you can manipulate it for that to. So then that's a knot, and then on the braids you can represent that as nothing changing direction, but just having a braid all in the same direction.
I told you about how I used to work in outdoor broadcasts, like doing cabling and stuff. We used to have those, like, several kilometers of cable. But the stuff I used to work on was like the thick coax cable. So it was about, I don't know, half an inch in diameter. So that doesn't really knot. Like that's like a garden hose. Like if you're going to wind it up on the spindle, stays pretty, like, as long as
Didn't you have to do that in like the figure eights or something? Was that
no,
that was something else?
So that's much more like the thinner like copper, like audio cables and stuff.
Right.
So I was working with the camera team, but then the audio team would be working with the audio stuff, but they still had cables that were like several kilometers long, but they were about as thick as those headphone cables that you've got. And so at the end of the, like, cricket or footy or whatever like that, everyone's packing up to go home. We'd finish the camera rig, and then we'd go and help the audio guys. And it was, imagine, 2 or 3 kilometers of that, and then we're laying it out in like on the pitch, like or on the oval, basically, to try and unknot it. So you'd have maybe like, I don't know, 80 or 90 knots that have somehow occurred, and then you're trying to figure out if they're loops, so that they're going to just
whether you can bring two together and
that's it, or you've got a loop. You got to get a little like 1 centimeter loop, and then take a few kilometers of cable back through it.
Oh boy,
and then move on to the next knot, and then move on to the next knot.
I've gotten pretty good with like audio cables, like packing up after gigs. There's like tricks you can do, like if you've thrown it out incorrectly, because I'm very fastidious about the way I wrap my cords up. You go over under, so that when you throw them out, any twisting that happens in one direction is cancelled out in the other. So, because it's the twisting that's the problem. Because if there's twist in it, then when you throw it out, it gives a torque, and then it can flip around on itself, and that's when you get knots. But
that's what that famous Chubby Checker song was about.
That's right. That's right. But if you throw it out and there's multiple knots, there's a trick where you put your hand all the way through all the knots, grab the other end and pull it through, and all of the knots are undone. So I imagine there's lots of...
Your gesture then was like turning a sock inside out. That's what you
pretty much.
Reaching in, grabbing the end, pulling through.
And you can do it all together, which was a trick I learned on YouTube, and it's come in handy when I've...
Where would we be without videos on YouTube showing us how to do stuff? Just staggering around in the dark, bumping into things. Metaphoric. And probably literal.
But the Knights tour is this cozy?
The Knights tour, right. So this is the idea of, could a knight from any point on a chessboard, can you get to every other point or every other square on a chessboard with a knight?
And I think I kind of clumsily arrived at the generally accepted definition of the Knights tour last time, but just to clear it up, because I don't think I got it really, really clearly. It is possible on an 8x8 standard chessboard for a knight to visit every square once and only once, and return back to where it started.
Okay.
In fact, I will read this one because it's really interesting. If you place a knight on an empty chessboard, it's possible to visit every square on the board exactly once and end up back where you started, only making legal knight moves. That's called the Knight's Tour. It works for an 8x8 grid of squares, but it's not guaranteed for other sizes of board. Specifically, if the board is an odd number of squares wide and an odd number of squares tall, it can't be done. Unless you curl the board into a cylinder and allow the knight to make moves that jump across the seam. In other words, in a cylindrical universe, the Knight's Tour is possible even on odd by odd board. Sometimes. It says sometimes, full stop, sometimes, full stop. This sleeve shows a solution for a 12x9 board. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if people do play cylinder chess, because there's all wild variations of chess. There's like 3-dimensional chess, and there's like triangular chessboards, or I don't know what the shape exactly would.
Toroidal chess would be cool.
What's that? Like on a donut sort of shape.
Yeah. Then it would be like Pac-Man chess. You just off the top and it comes on the bottom.
People have done all these kinds of, because chess is like, catnip for mathematicians and theorists and stuff. And so they've kind of done all the different variations of that. And like multi-level chess where you sort of you move up and down chessboards. It's pretty cool when you see like all these different setups. But I don't know if I wonder about cylindrical chess, which is kind of like you got an infinite horizontal.
Yeah.
My nagging question about this is why have they not put dots just on the top row and nowhere else?
Yeah, up the top there's no...
Listeners, if you can get the correct answer to that, Brendan will also send you the sleeve of his drink bottle.
I'll be left with nothing.
And his jacket. Later in the episode, we'll be auctioning off his hat, his shirt.
But you can see the secret I will reveal is under here where the...
Okay, we're back to the drink bottle. Yes, so the
little
secret
holes are...
I see. So there's 2 holes right at the very top of the drink bottle. And there's actually little plugs in the hand strap,
so that you
guess,
can
that
use
plug
them as just a normal drink bottle.
And is there any practical application to this, or is it like is it just
depending on how
trick?
practical you think killing people covertly?
See, I'm curious about that. Is that just the name, the Assassin's Teapot?
Yes,
because it would be so much effort to get your enemy to come to tea with you, to be in a position where you could be close enough to them with a teapot.
Yes,
that still the method of choice is like
you've really played the long game at that point.
Yeah. Just be friends with them by that point if you're having tea with them.
Yeah, you're probably enjoying it.
The Assassin's Teapot is just one variation of a popular magic trick usually referred to as the inexhaustible bottle. The first known reference to such a device is from the 1635 work Hocus Pocus Jr., The Anatomy of Legerdemain, where the vessel is a barrel. Hocus Pocus Jr. is a compilation of known magic tricks, so we know the inexhaustible bottle predates even 1635. So yeah, but in fact, a nice little touch is on the little lid. There's an embossed picture of the Assassin's Teapot.
So many secrets in this bottle.
Is there anything we're able to see with the lid taken off?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I feel like there's a part of the trick in that.
There's the original Assassin's Teapot video, and then he released a video saying that this is what they were going to do, and they were going to try and produce one, and they went through multiple iterations. I like it as a water bottle, and they've allowed you to sort of use it just like that if you don't want to use the trick all the time. And they've given you they came with little replacement plugs as well. So it's all the little nice things. But he said one of the biggest hurdles in design was the lid, because in order to properly seal down on a partition in a way that wouldn't leak is really hard to do. So, but then they discovered the masonry jars that people do use for canning that have like a collar that goes over it that fastens down a lid, so the center of the circle of the lid can remain stationary while the collar goes over the top. So that's the design they used. And then there's a really, really high quality silicon seal that seals the partition and can only go on one way, and then receives the liquids in ways that will allow there to be a vacuum, right? And disallow the liquid pouring out if you've blocked off the inlet valve. So it's really cool.
Super neat construction.
Yeah, and
it's all nicely hidden away.
The lid is just a really positive fit, and it's just like a really good drink bottle.
It also reminds me of the bomb from Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes.
Where you've got to mix together 2 different coloured liquids to sort of prime the actual explosive.
Yep. I showed it to Nora the other day, and she lost her mind.
Die Hard with a Vengeance?
No, I got to show her the first one first. She hasn't seen. But yeah, that's my new favorite drink bottle.
I wonder if there are cool tricks you could do with 2 different liquids where you pour one, you could pour another one, and then when you allow them to mix as you pour both together, there was some sort of chemical reaction.
Yeah, what are some of the classic mixing things? I mean, there's the glues that you have to mix together.
Mm-hmm. Something that foams nicely, maybe like vinegar and bicarb. Is that right?
Oh yeah, bicarb, soda, and vinegar. Yeah, you could have like liquefied Mentos and or crushed Mentos and
Pepsi or something.
Pepsi on the other side. That'd be fun. Pour it out together. So when you're drinking it just like that, what are you getting? Are you getting both at once?
I'm getting both at once.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just Barocca and water.
Yeah, so that's now that I've sealed it off. But when I was doing it before, I'd had both plugs out, and then I was covertly with my finger, I was selecting which
the modern assassin's teapot, if you didn't actually want to straight out murder someone,
yeah.
but murder them with pranking,
Oh, well, where's the fun in that?
you could do like milk and Coke or something
Yeah.
like that. So you get two things that
He
when
does-
they mix together.
On the video, he does have milk, and he's like, "Oh, milk was a bad choice," and so he does the other one. Yeah, and so and he has like, you could have a black coffee or a milk drink or a milky coffee.
Did you ever do as a kid the whole like I think it was in a Freaks and Geeks episode actually where the kids like as dares like try and mix things together. I forget what it was. Someone lost a bet or something, and just mixing gross things together to see what they taste like. Did you ever do that?
Inadvertently,
I definitely did that.
I did things where I was like, I don't think mum and dad would let me do this, so I'm just gonna try it myself. And I mixed cordial and milk. So I was like, that's got to be good because milk mixes with like Milo and Quick and stuff, and that's really nice. And it really wasn't very nice at all.
Yeah. Orange juice and milk was always like, because it curdled, and it was just absolutely. It reminded me of that white medicine that I used to have to have as a kid.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was for or anything like, but we just knew it as the white medicine.
Yeah,
because it just tasted so bad. I'm kind of like getting ill thinking about remembering that taste, and I reckon milk and orange juice went a fair bit of the way to replicating that taste.
Milk of magnesia, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah,
you ever had as a kid.
Yeah. Ugh.
Did you try any weird combinations?
I remember going to a friend's birthday party where we played a game of darts where we'd covered different parts of the dartboard with different ingredients, and you got 3 darts. I can't remember if it was in pairs where you threw 3 darts and you had to have whatever you hit. And we had a blender as well to put it all together. But it was things like wasabi and milk and peanut butter and just all sorts of different things.
That actually sounds fun.
I don't really remember, so I mustn't have been too scarred, but I remember having some combination and thinking it was actually not too bad. I remember everyone being like, no way! Like, I was like, yeah, it's actually not that bad.
You just kept getting like triple 20s, and it's just tequila. And you're like, I don't really remember it. I don't remember it at all. Actually,
I was hustling them.
Now that wasn't even the only prop that you brought tonight.
No,
are we going to continue the prop brigade, or are you going to tease us and tantalize us?
Well, what do you think? How should we do it? Should we?
We'll do it after this break. And we're back.
Back. And here we go. And I brought in another prop, fellas.
Yeah, let's do it now. I can't wait.
I think I mentioned this one on a few episodes ago. The Stephen Biesties?
I read it as Biesties. Biesty. Stephen Biestie's incredible
cross sections. And this is a book that it's one of those Stalling Kindersley's books that I just think are just brilliant. And used to love spending all lunch at primary school just like looking over the incredible breakdowns and exploded pictures. But my sister found this at an op shop recently, and it's in incredible condition.
Say, you wouldn't know. It looks brand new.
It's like a 1991 print. And there's a fold out.
So nice.
It's so good. There's a fold out of a
So hang on, we've seen a Spanish galleon, we've seen a submarine. These are like exploded cross sections.
Yeah. This is
all separated out.
It's like each side
it's
of the page
large,
is like
isn't it?
A3 maybe.
Yeah, A3.
So A2, and you're seeing a whole
Where's
put together.
the incredible one?
It's a hardback.
Here we are.
It's Dorling Kinsley, so you got that classic white background with like the inlaid borders.
There's this fold out
of an ocean liner,
centerfold fold out that's like immaculate. There's barely a dog-eared corner for a book.
This really is Playboy for nerds, isn't it?
It really is.
We're all sitting here, folded out. Look at that. It's a cross section of an ocean liner. Look at the smokestacks.
We're in it for the pictures. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Oh, and it's got. I think I actually remember this. It's just got like a how many passengers you can have, 800 second class passengers, and it's got a little grid of people drawn to scale about what space they would take up on the ship. That's incredible.
I noticed
Jack could be down the bottom there, and Rose would be right up the top.
Yeah.
There's pictures of people inside the ship. It looks like something that could be a Where's Wally? Try and
or
spot
7 Statues of Liberty.
7 Statues of Liberty that they've got lying down.
Should take up the whole bloody thing.
Yeah,
her and her family.
Yeah.
And 6 sisters.
Maybe I wonder if that's something she'd be interested in doing. I'd go along.
Taking
Take a
cruise ship.
cruise. Take a cruise.
Tell you what, bloody these days, don't get political, mate. They should be out of there.
Should
be
be
taking the first ship out.
Opera house.
An opera house.
An opera house.
So
Yes.
it's not the opera house, it's an opera house.
An
Royal Opera House.
Royal Opera House.
Covent Garden.
Oh.
The richness of these pictures is there's something incredibly soothing and
Yeah.
satisfying. They're perspective drawings, so
Yeah.
they're architectural,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also colorful, but just it's kind of a muted palette, isn't it? They're just soft on the
Yeah.
eye. But there's so much detail that you feel like you can just wander your eye over that and you're taking a little tour.
Mm.
It's got
inside
a
there.
muted Where's Wally
Yes.
look to me.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a good
Like
way,
grown
like,
up, where's Wally?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, a steam
Ooh,
train.
trains.
Yeah, now we're
Like,
talking.
I mean, what more could you want? Oh,
It's a
man.
great find.
I haven't even had a chance to sit down, but Aaron only gave it to me like a week ago. But it was just so funny that it happened the way it did because I made a mention about cross sections to a mate, and he sent me a meme with this book in it, and it was just a funny meme about a guy wishing for like I can't remember exactly what it was. And then this person turned into this book. And it was just a hilarious meme. And I just said, yes, cross-section. And then Erin found that book like the next week. And because I showed her the meme and she found that in the thing. Yeah.
Does this page tell you what is in those parcels that the doc
let's-
throws into the engine
yeah.
in Back to the Future Part 3
yeah.
to make the engine burn hotter than the
They're
blazes
his
of
own-
hell?
Never
they're
understood
his
what those
own-
were.
There's his own like invention, aren't they? His
His own
special
formulation.
mate.
It'd be some kind of chemical that would just make it burn hot, right? That was the idea.
At certain
Would that
temperatures,
work? Do you reckon that if you just burned a fire in a steam train hotter,
Yeah. Mm.
what's that going to do? It's going to make more steam that's
Mm.
going to go, or is the steam going to have more energy in it,
Mm.
and that's going to make something happen faster?
Hmm.
Steam engine, to my understanding, so what? It's like pistons that are being pushed, but they're being pushed by steam,
Mm.
as opposed to like a car where it's like the explosion of it's the detonation of the
Yeah.
petroleum and the oxygen that's causing the pistons to expand and compress. But now we've
Yeah.
got steam that's making like the pressure of the pistons go.
Yeah.
So would that actually work to just make it hotter?
That's an interesting question.
So is it just the furnace or whatever, wherever you're throwing the parcels that has to contain the pressure? I presume there's some limit to...
The furnace heats up a big tank of water,
Okay.
and then the water is under pressure, and or the steam is under pressure because the water heats up. So
So that tank would need to be able to withstand a certain amount of pressure.
Mm.
yeah. But does water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, but if it then goes up and up and up to like 120, 130, 140,
Yeah.
that's still steam, isn't it? But I guess that steam has got more energy in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
presume.
yeah. You could superheat it, I'm sure, so that it's
And then I'm guessing if it's got more energy, the pressure, if it's in the same contained space, the pressure that it's under must increase as well, right?
Yeah.
So I assume, there is some logic
Yeah.
there that you make it hotter, the steam gets hotter and more energized, and then it might actually
Yeah.
push the thing faster.
And I imagine like
Back to the Future was right.
you would reach in if you were going flat out. Like if you were going if the train was going flat out, then you'd reach an equilibrium between the resistance of making the train go faster, the resistance you would need to overcome to make the train go faster, and how much energy the steam can actually deliver.
Yeah.
But if you just superheated the steam and had it high, then you'd just be able to, provided you had you had enough source of water.
I wonder what the theoretical
able to
upper
keep-
limit of a steam engine is. Because like with cars, you can just make them faster and faster.
Yeah.
Like you can make them more aerodynamic. You can make the engines more powerful with like
Yeah.
higher horsepower. But then you can also just strap a rocket onto the back of something called
Yeah.
a car, and like it's no longer a internal combustion engine. It's now a rocket engine. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It can go faster again. Like those land speed records, I'm pretty sure they're basically like rocket cars, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where they go out on a salt plane and then they
Yeah,
just send a
strap the
car
rocket.
going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to make a scale model like the doc does.
Mhm,
We've got the
mhm.
plans. We've got an inexhaustible water bottle source of energy.
I don't know if we'll have the time to build it to scale or to paint it, but
it's fine, Doug. It's fine. This is purely for my benefit because it's not a visual medium. But can you do the face that Doc Brown makes? That was exactly it.
That's one of my favorite bits of the movie.
Doc.
We'll get some pitch.
And then when it sets fire to the rags on the thing, he actually I'm jumping from movie to movie, but in 1955 when one sets fire to it, he actually grabs a period correct fire extinguisher and he turns it upside down and does it, and it's just like a block of what would that reaction be? I can't remember, but my dad's got one.
Hope your house never catches fire.
Yeah, but
I reckon you probably need a newer one than that.
I think it's spent. Yeah.
We'll put pics of the cross-section book up on Instagram.
Thanks, Stephen
as well.
Biesty.
Yeah,
Stephen Biesty, Steve Mould.
I wonder if Stephen Beastie's still around then.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because they're not that old, these books. All right.
But speaking of boats as well, the one last, this isn't a prop, but one last flashback, throwback that I wanted to do was we were trying to figure out what the difference between a ship and a boat was.
Yes.
And I knew there was a really funny, I found it funny, little mnemonic to remember that my brother in the Navy had. He said, people used to say a ship can carry a boat, but a boat can't carry a ship. And that was like, there's something about those like cyclical, like not very helpful definitions that like tickle me. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's nothing in the formation or the rhyme or anything of that that actually could just be reversed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we've got the problem of the remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's not the bit that I really need.
A ship can carry a boat can't carry a ship. Yeah.
Well, I think we need to watch A Curiosity Show. And I'm trying not to just pick the latest ones that they're uploading, but those are the ones that just keep catching my eye.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see why.
Why not?
Because the one that they've put up 5 days ago is the amazing Ames Room.
Oh, brilliant.
All right, so...
He really had a monopoly on the really good illusions, didn't he, old Adelbert?
A quick one.
Oh, some groovy flip music.
There's like a little scene being played out by the gents.
So Deane looks huge.
Oh, Rob's miming. Come over here, Deane. Oh, now he's shrinking.
Now Rob's getting smaller than... Deane's getting smaller than Rob.
Oh, dear.
So this is what we talked about on the Ames Window episode.
Yeah.
What on earth is happening here? We're in this crazy room that seems to make people grow when they go to one side and then shrink when they go to the other. If you watch my head against the tops of the window frames, you'll see the effect. It's actually a room that was invented 40 years ago by a man called Ames. And it's not magic. It has this effect because of the way it's made. Most rooms are rectangular, but not this one. One of the back corners is very tall, but the front end of the room is quite short. It's not a real room anyway. It's 3 walls, 2 of them very distorted. Maybe I can explain it better with a model. I started with a cardboard box, something like a shoebox, and trimmed away part of it. What I actually did was to make a mark halfway up that corner, and that corner.
It's got an old studio monitor next to it.
At the top of the 4th corner. Draw lines between those points and cut away the cardboard above those lines. It's almost an Ames room, but not quite. Little peephole in the front there, and then another back wall. Full height on the left, half height on the right, coming across at an angle. Now, when you saw Rob and me in an Ames room, you just saw 1, 2, 3 walls there, and the camera was sitting on the floor. We need 2 people to go in our model Ames room, and I've cut them from yellow and red cardboard, identical size. We'll drop the red one in on the right and the yellow one in on the left, and then fly in the old bug cam. See if we can see the effect. Now from there, an aerial view, the illusion hasn't appeared yet. But as it comes down and looks through the peephole, what do we see? The person on the right looks far taller than the person on the left. Change them over, and you guessed it, the one moving to the right grows, the one moving to the left shrinks. The Ames room is such a compelling illusion that it's sometimes being used in films as a special effect to show people growing or shrinking.
The whole scene just disappeared, froze and disappeared into a little mouse hole with a cat nearby.
So jovial.
Disappeared into a mouse hole in the wainscoting. I think that's called. With a cat right next to it. So, few things that we got there. That was like a whole set build that they'd had in their studio there.
No expense spared.
Rob in a jaunty blue vest opened over his shirt, and this time Rob just in his two-toned green sweater there. Some lovely studio props, so the classic fake plants sitting around there. And then we got, again, a peek behind the curtain there as we saw
love
just
to see it.
Plastic chairs and things in the background of shot when we see behind the studio was.
No expense spared.
Bug cam. I'm guessing bug cam because it's the ones that they used to use, like David Attenborough and stuff, would use them to actually go down and look in. I remember seeing there's a great doco covering, like, I think it might have been 50 years of David Attenborough.
And the tech that they used.
And how it evolved over time. And literally it goes back to like black and white footage when they used to have to like fly a plane over a savannah. But the engine of the plane would be scaring off the animals, and they'd have to either fly really high and get really wide shots, or if they came down too low, all they could get was the animals just kind of running away from the plane. And then as technology got better and better, they like went all the way through to the period of sort of drones that were almost silent, and they were able to send these drones in and see like a Arctic wolf in the middle of like the tundra that you'd never see, and that they like don't even know if they live there or something because like they're so sensitive to sound and people. But the bug cams got like better and better too, and they'd be able to like stick these like endoscopes down through into like ant hills and stuff and see how they behave inside, which must freak the ants out. Like, what the hell is this?
I love the behind the scenes of Attenborough things. And I do highly recommend if you haven't seen Bertie Gregory, who's another he's a National Geographic videographer.
Oh, cool.
Camera person. And I think he's worked on a bunch of the Attenborough documentaries in the past in the camera crew. But he's sort of come to the front as more of a front man and narrator, and he's on screen in his own series that is basically like an Attenborough documentary where it's about different animals in different parts of the world, and there's a lot more though of the process of how they film them, and therefore as well, like, you know, working with local people of that area as well to get the knowledge of the animals and the environment and whatnot. But this is the modern version of all of that technology stuff where they're getting you these probably $500,000 cameras and things, and they can stick them on the sides of boats, and Birdie particularly works with drones, so a lot of the drone stuff's really cool. But it's very adventurous. It's all like, you know, how they have to climb into trees and camp out there for weeks and weeks just to, you know, get a couple of bits of footage.
That would be so
elephants.
Interesting, like how long it must take to get some of those shots and just be like out there for months at a time.
Because they set those cameras where it's sort of, you know, set and leave just because it might just trigger and catch something on the way past. And those get okay bits of footage, but I think this sort of shows that there's nothing beating just the, you know, being in the right place and waiting patiently yourself, except for coming back to bug cams. The ones now that they can get into nests in trees for to see birds and insects doing their thing inside the tree, or the ones I've seen that go into like Venus fly traps. They get them inside there and catch the whole process. Like, and see the little bugs, you know, being eaten essentially. But I love that stuff.
That fascinates me. Like, and like, Venus flytraps, the way, because I once heard a definition of like one of the differences between animals and plants is that plants grow and animals can move. Like the animal, like there's muscular movement, but then there's growth in plants. But at the end of the day, it's almost, I mean, they are distinctly different things, but they're different really on a time scale. That if you speed up time, then plants move the way that animals move, and if you slow down the muscular movement, then really you're seeing like contraction and expansion of fibers, and like, you know, like if you talk about like human muscles or something like that, and it's just so funny. Like, and then like the Venus flytrap, like anything that has like quick motion in the plant kingdom is always really fascinating, like something that can come, and they're not that fast, but they're still faster than what you're used to seeing a plant move. But if you watch those time lapses of like a creeper that's like wrapping itself around a
Yeah,
trellis or something like that. It evokes.
Yeah.
You look at it and it looks like a tentacle of an
yeah,
animal
yeah,
or something.
feeling for something. Yeah,
Even like coral, or there's some underwater plants, I think, that really act like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know coral is an animal plant sort of,
yeah.
call it like symbiosis sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, that's an interesting way to think of it. It's just like on a different time scale.
Well, because
Yeah.
then I was looking at pictures of Flinders Ranges where our dad's just come back from, and looking at some of the aerial photographs of the landscape up there and the ridge lines. You realize that if you were to, geologically, if you looked at the that you sometimes they do those like simulated time lapses of the topography of a mountain range or something like that.
Right.
And if you speed that up so that you're seeing millions of years in a few seconds,
Yeah.
it turns it into something that more resembles like the ripples of water.
Yeah,
That it's like the movement of land and rock and like
Oh.
the undulation of the actual like solid ground and stuff. So everything's just on timescales.
I wonder what the longest time lapse, like the recorded over the greatest period of time, would be,
that's
what
a
the
good
record
question.
for that one. And there'd have to be one running right now. I wonder what the longest, what one running right now has been running the longest.
And the ancient Sumerians set up a pinhole camera.
Yeah.
It's still going
It's
now.
still
Yeah.
going.
Did you ever read Truckers, the Terry Pratchett book?
Yeah.
The Bromeliad
No,
series, they
I
call
don't
them?
remember too much about Truckers, Diggers, and Wings.
think, yeah.
Did they make like kids shows about those?
Yeah, yeah.
I reckon I saw some of those when I was a kid.
Yeah,
the
I think it was
actual-
like a stop motion
yeah,
animation.
Yeah, I reckon I saw those.
It's the one
yeah.
with the gnomes that live in a department store.
Yes.
But the gnomes in the department store think that they're the only gnomes, and that they think the department store is the whole universe.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
these gnomes from outside come in one
Yep,
day,
I remember
and it
seeing
causes
that
this
show. Oh, I'd love to
philosophical
find
and
that.
existential crisis
That'd
in
be
the
on
gnome
YouTube.
community. It's actually really wonderful ideas. Like I really like Terry. I liked the Discworld books of Terry Pratchett when I was a kid as well.
Yeah.
But the Truckers, Diggers, and Wings, which they call it the Bromeliad trilogy, because there's these interludes, there's these chapters that keep appearing in between the main story that take you to these frogs that live on a single big lily pad. Oh no, a single
Right.
big Bromeliad like
Right,
leaf.
right,
And for them, that's the whole world.
right.
And like as a kid, you're just reading it and thinking these are quirky things, and then as an
Yeah.
adult, you realize there's this really sophisticated thing happening where he's
Yeah.
showing you that there's like the whole thing is a meditation on religion and,
Yeah.
and philosophy and people's perspective of the
Yeah.
like the universe and stuff. So these frogs think that their lily pad is the only, or their leaf is the only leaf, and that they are the only frogs. And there's a frog in the community that is like talking about, well, what if there's another leaf over there that we can go to? And then he's being shouted down and stuff. And then I feel like you also get the perspective in another chapter of these like California redwoods, and they're on a completely different. Oh, there's like a fly. I think there's like a mayfly that lives for a day, and he talks about like the life story of these mayflies. And there's one. There's like the old lady mayfly who was born like early in the morning, and it's now late afternoon, and she's talking about what life used to be like when she was young, and and there's one that was born late afternoon that's still just a little tucker, and like she's saying, oh, you don't know what it was like. The sun was over there. It was like the whole like you guys don't know what it's like, And then the California redwoods are like they're living on this scale of to them like the seasons happen in a couple of minutes, and they're just sort of so they're breathing in and out with the seasons of the year.
That's cool.
And I just remember one bit where it's just two redwoods are talking to each other, and then suddenly one of them's just gone, just vanishes, because he hasn't seen all the bulldozers and the trucks come in to like do the logging in the forest. So because they move too quickly for him to notice. So it's like they're just a blur. But for him, like his friend that he was talking to just vanishes one day. And they're like, oh, well, that just happens to trees. They can just disappear out of existence, and you never know what happens to them. But this idea of time scales and perspective is so fascinating.
Wow,
what a fun playground to mess with those knobs to tell your story.
Now,
That's cool.
You mentioned the word nest and you mentioned the word bugs.
Oh yeah.
I want to hear a story about you and wasps in South America.
Right, yeah. So about 15 years ago, I was just started uni, and I went for a backpacking trip to South America by myself. Ended up catching up with some friends for the last part of it, but I was gone for 4 months. And during that time, I was in Argentina and Chile and Peru. And I'd made my way up to Peru and was just looking into what to do. And I knew I wanted to go to the jungle, so I looked at how to do that, because I was only 20 years old at the time, and first time traveling by myself, first time out of the country.
I was so impressed by this whole adventure. This is so cool.
What a legend.
Luckily, I'd gone and I nothing bad happened on the trip, but when I first got there, I was like, oh, right, okay, I need to go and learn some Spanish, which I will say is the nice thing about taking some time to travel by yourself, because then, you don't feel like you've got to cram it all in. I thought, I can spend a week and hang out in Santiago and take some Spanish language classes. And just a very little side story, the young guys who took the classes there were really nice. There was a cafe downstairs and a language school upstairs, so go first thing in the morning and have a few hours of class, grab a coffee, do another couple of hours, and then in the afternoon, these guys were really nice, just nothing to do with the class. We just sort of became friends with them, and they'd take us out into the town and just go get a drink or get lunch or whatever it is and show us parts of the town. But what was cool was that they would get us students, or a couple of us who went along with them, to order for them and nice. To do all that sort of stuff.
Brilliant.
So we actually
using
the Spanish, and then they could, let us just do it and then help us, correct or, say, this is how you could say.
What was really nice is they let you pay as well.
Yeah.
Got to learn about the money,
Exactly. Yeah. They just disappeared. So, and that was very helpful to then sort of make my way into the jungle. But I did jump on sort of an organized, I guess you'd call it a tour, but it was mostly just by myself. But it was sort of, as I got off the plane in Puerto Maldonado, which is a very small town in the Amazon, or on the edges of the Amazon. Someone came and helped pick me up, and the part of the deal was that I went and did a week, or just under a week, at an animal rescue shelter, which was really cool. There's a wonderful woman there named Magali who was rescuing animals both from the wild and from in that area. I think there was just a bit of mistreatment of some of the bigger animals as well, and so she had spider monkeys and coati and all sorts of cool.
Was this
animals.
In the middle of nowhere, this place, or?
Yeah, so I got off the plane in Puerto Maldonado, and then it was a bus ride, and then a jeep ride, and then a boat ride up the river to get to this area. But there was actually two parts to it. So the animal rescue part was actually the second half of it. I'm working backwards, but both parts were definitely took a bit of a trek to get there. Many hours of travel. The other part was at I think it is a resort, but it's a research facility resort area. So it's like a nice way to stay deep in the jungle, where there's people cooking meals, and there's showers, cold water only, but there's showers and beds with fly screens. So it's sort of a comfortable way to be there, and the money you're spending on the whole trip sort of helps fund people to be able to be there to do jungle research on animals and just the jungle.
You're not exactly within Uber Eats distance of a Domino's, or? No,
there are no options. You are there, and that's all that is there. And there's some guides there that you can go and do walks out into the jungle, and it was interesting. Jungle is interesting because this is the only deep jungle I've been to, and so this one was very flat, and so I didn't realize for a few years after this that there were jungles that are in more hilly areas. So, but it's very you don't get a sense of the whole area until you can get to somewhere like a lookout. So you got taken to sort of a lookout where you could walk up a bunch of sort of a spiral staircase up to a platform, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, this thing is huge, and you can see all the winding bits of the river or the offshoots. So we weren't on the Amazon River itself. It was actually an offshoot called the Madre de Dios.
So because it was so flat, would you say that you couldn't see the forest for the trees?
Very much so.
Can you say that now?
I couldn't see the forest for the trees.
Oh, very good.
You might edit that at the start as well, but
Yeah, and it was fascinating trip. Definitely got bitten up by mosquitoes. I should tell the listeners that my one allergy I have in life is to mosquito repellent, or DEET, the active ingredient. So it's a very unfortunate problem to have. It's not a deathly allergy, and it doesn't come up that often.
Yeah,
but
luckily, it's not an ingredient in too many foods. So.
Yeah, luckily though, there was a guy I met at the lodge who was I don't know if he was a doctor or professor of chemistry at, I want to say Harvard. It was either Harvard or MIT or one of the big hitters in America. Just out with it. He and his wife were on holiday and got chatting with it. They were a really lovely couple, and they were just leaving. And he had made up his own high percentage DEET little nondescript bottle of mosquito repellent, and he gave it to me. And he said, I know you're allergic, but if you just dab a tiny bit of this on the tips of your clothing, like on the tip of your cap,
powerful enough that you don't.
You wouldn't need it on your skin, and it should be extra powerful.
They're not going to let me take this back through customs, so you may as well have it.
I definitely got rid of it after I used it there in the jungle. It sort of helped. I'd say there's just so many mosquitoes that it's just really hard to avoid. But so the lodge part was fun, and that was very educational. And then the other half was helping Magali at the animal rescue shelter, cutting up food and helping build parts of animal shelters, and just sort of hanging around with the animals at the end of the day. Got to just lie in a hammock, and the old monkey named Pepe, who I think has passed away since I saw him 15 years ago, but he'd come and lie in the hammock with me, and that was these are some of the seminal moments of my life.
Can we post a couple of these pics?
Because
I reckon I've seen a thing of you just holding the hand of this monkey just wandering around and cleaning out these animal cages.
Magic.
Looking very young and very green, like myself. Very orange the monkey was, though. I realized after I got out of the hammock, I just got orange, kind of fur oils all over my clothing.
Wow.
That's fine. And what the story I think, Ben, you're referring to was when I was in the lodge area, going on a little hike with a few other people in the lodge, and that was I think it was just to visit a local farm. So Peru has a high proportion of original inhabitants of the area. The Quechuan people, I think, is one of the groups, or at least they were in this area, I believe. And so we're going to visit a farm, still working farm. And so the guide had taken us through maybe an hour of jungle, jumped in some boats that were sort of having to bail out a little bit because of some light rain, and got ourselves across a small bit of river, got to the other side, got to the farm. We're looking around. It's really cool. It was a bit more open at the farm. So obviously a lot of the trees had been cut down to make way for bits of farm. But we were standing under this one set of trees. I think the guide had we had a few machetes with us because we had to get through just a few bits of jungle to get there and get back.
Every detail in the story just gets cooler and cooler. Yeah, little thing.
Yeah, and he just climbed up a tree, I think, to cut some, I can't remember what fruit it was, maybe papaya, maybe banana, I'm not sure what it was, to cut that, got back down, and we were sort of just milling about. It was maybe about 7 of us in the group, and one guy had turned around, and on the back of his jacket was just a single wasp. Very clear as day on his jacket, and the guide spotted it and was like,
"Are these those big wasps? Those South American ones?"
Yeah, I'd say maybe a 50-cent Australian piece.
Big.
Pretty big. And he was like, oh, he's sort of just stay still. You got a wasp on you. But I've never seen anything like this. I've never been bitten by a big wasp. I haven't seen a wasp nest at this point in my life. And literally 1 second later, it was like they were watching us from the tree, and a big swarm of wasps. I don't know how many, dozens of wasps.
This is my worst nightmare.
Descended on our group really fast. It was like we'd been ambushed. It was the feeling of one sentry one had come down to scout out, and then they all came down, and it was just pandemonium because there was definitely some skittish people in our group as well. And look, I mean, I was also a bit terrified, and they were just all around us, and people were throwing off their clothes, and it took a beat for the guide, who did very well. He held his nerve and said to everyone, just everyone, listen to me. All right, we're going to head straight for the water. So we picked up the machetes, and we were just running to the water with these machetes and trying to get away from the wasps. And it was just sort of mayhem until we got to the water, and then what the next thing I remember was that it was fine, and we'd seemed to have outrun most of them or all of them.
Man.
And we're sort of just taking stock of what was going on. And I just looked over at the guide, and he was fine. He was with it, and he was trying to make sure people were okay. But he just had this ring of big welts on his head, all across his forehead, and luckily he wasn't allergic or anything. It was just he'd just been hit that many times.
Right.
I think it was only me and one other person who escaped with not a single sting at all.
That nuclear strength deep for the win.
Apparently. And then there was one woman who was a bit worried because she might not have known whether it was wasps or bees, and she said she was allergic to honeybees, I think, or some kind of bee. And so she was a little bit concerned, but she was okay. I think she was just a bit scared. But there was nothing else you could do. We had to get back in those boats, get back across the water, then make our way back through the jungle, like hike back to we went at speed, but it was like, what an adventure. And look, I mean, maybe it's easy for me to say that it was a really fun, exciting adventure because I didn't get stung. Man, it was
epic.
Oh, dude, that's, I didn't know that one.
Lost an arm or a head with a bunch of white people flailing around with machetes after.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh man. And like nothing like that. But I've been swarmed by bees before, and there's something about bees and wasps. Like honestly, I'll pit them over snakes, spiders, and like anything like that. Because if you like, there's a lot of thing in Australia about snakes, but if you see a snake, as long as you see it, you can be like, oh, yep, and you can back away, and if you leave it alone, it'll leave it alone unless it's too late. Spiders the same. If you see it, you're gonna be able to get away. Yeah. But if a swarm of flying insects decide that they're gonna get you, they're gonna get you, and there's nothing you can do. It's not there's no, if they just they're way more their aggression, because they can fly as well. If they've gone that person, then you're done.
And they can swarm. So even if you did sort of outrun a couple, some might still be on you, or it's like there's a multi-pronged assault.
So scary.
On the other end of the spectrum, I was in New Zealand, and they've got the big, hairy bumblebees.
Oh, yeah.
Just the really cute ones that just are really...
they land on a flower, and the flower goes, boom.
Little chunky boys.
They are literally like something out of Winnie the Pooh. Bumblebees. They bumble around, and they're just dozy, and they just kind of bump into things and bump away again. But they kept landing on anything that was like this really bright blue color,
right?
Like the blue of like a really clear blue sky, but there was a little bit of tape, a little bit of like blue duct tape on my like kayak paddle.
Oh yeah.
And like a bumblebee would inevitably like fly all the way over and just land on it for a second and then fly off.
Oh, right.
And the only other really blue thing in the area was my eyes. Blue. So they just keep. I was like, why do bumblebees just keep flying straight into my eye? Like, and they just like, and they wouldn't sting or anything, but it's still unnerving. I mean, these bees fly at your eyes, and they just like bounce off my eye. And the guide was like, they go for blue for some reason. And I was like, I don't know if it's just something about like that part of the color spectrum, and that they, I'm presuming that because flowers have these different colors, like vibrant colors, and they attract like butterflies and flies and bees and things like that. But I don't think there were any blue flowers where we were, and I don't know if there are any blue flowers over there. And so just to have this like synthetic blue come into their world must be like, what's this? Something new and delicious.
And in broad daylight, the pupils of your eyes would have been tiny, and you're beautiful blue.
That's right. Yeah. They were stunning. Yeah.
How can you blame them?
So now, just to be really confusing, we're just going to do a different version of the thing of explaining why my voice is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now they'll have heard all of that. And be like, but that wasn't the thing I heard at the beginning. That's really confusing.
Right.
So now...
Always stay to the end.
The solution.
Right. What should it be then? What's another impression you can do, Brendan?
I can. No,
pull one out for you.
I don't know if I can do. I don't know if I can do Christopher Walken.
Do Sean Connery.
I think my Sean Connery is right.
So Tom, I need you to. This is going to go at the beginning where it's going to explain to the listener. So you need to tell the listener that Ben's mic is going to be a bit funny, and then you need to ask Sean Connery to explain why. Okay.
Gotcha. Welcome to the show. Just quickly, you might notice Ben's microphone at the start of this episode is just a little bit low. But luckily we've got, of all people, Sean Connery here to explain why that was the case.
What we do. Yes.
Now, Sean, can you just walk me through what happened?
Right. Well, you've got this young lad, Brendan. He's there. He says that he can hook up the microphones. And I'm not quite sure that he can. But I turned to him. I said, may he who illuminated this illuminate me.
I do impressionettes. I don't know if I can. I'm only a parrot.
We're actually out of time. We should get him on the show. We shouldn't have used him just for that bit. We should actually use Sean for the show.
What's your Sean Connery joke?
What time does Sean Connery get to Wimbledon?
10-ish.
Oh, and the other good one is I was talking to Sean the other day, and he said, "Oh, Brandon, like I've got a sore head. My head is killing me." And I said, "Oh, what happened, Sean?" He goes, "Oh, I was sitting on the couch, and a book fell down and hit me. I can only blame myself." And I blame myself for the problem with Ben's microphone. I didn't turn it on, so you'll hear that and you'll wonder what's going on, and then you'll have all other hijinks pursue. Yeah.
That's the one.
And if you like that joke, then you might want to
try it on your friends.
Ooh. Indubitably.
I want to know. Curiosity.